Good morning, afternoon, evening everyone. As the video title suggests, we're going to talk a bit about the saturation in the gacha space and also basically what it means for me running this channel as a side hobby. From my perspective, I've looked at Wuthering and uninstalled it. I've looked at Zenless Zero, said no thank you, and it's likely going to be like this for the future. I'm going to keep myself limited to games like Gen-shin Impact mostly, and that is what I'll present to you guys when I get time to make a bit of content on the side. And this is really the issue. When you are faced with the realities of working every single day for 8 hours in front of a computer screen doing complicated maths, it really takes it out of you. So when you come back and you live, you eat, wash, go on dates, just sit by the riverside, go out for running, just normal things, you kind of want to disengage. And one of the beautiful things about Genshin for me is that I can disengage precisely because my current account is at such a point that the game is in maintenance mode. I don't have to worry about stressing out over every single little primo gem, otherwise I'm not going to get the character that I want, and that's the problem. If I start playing more and more gacha games, Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zero, Wuthering Waves, I have to keep up with everything, and then there's just going to be the sense of FOMO that grabs you. So what's the best way to counter FOMO? Well, just don't play the game in the first place, and that is what I've decided to do. But also my drive to play new games also comes from a perspective where I feel way too saturated and apathetic. So let me explain. When I see a character like Chun-Li from Wuthering Waves, I can see that there's lots of excitement, people go crazy over the big boobs and the combat and how pretty she is, and yeah, like if I have to be honest, the character looks good, but I don't feel anything. And the reason I don't feel anything is that despite the combat and the good trailer and all of these things, I just kind of had enough with starting a game like Honkai Star Rail, getting the latest waifu, everyone's excited, and then as I'm still recovering from the whiplash of the excitement and the FOMO, everyone's already moved on to a new game with new waifus, and by the time you pick up that game, people have already moved on and your favorite content creators are now covering Zenless Zero. It's too much. It genuinely is too much, and at some point something has to give, especially for people like myself that work. And I hope people can empathize with this. Even if you're like a student at university or like at college, after a certain point, once life starts taking over, you're not going to be like the content creators that have an active interest in trying to broaden out their fan base, understand that their fan base moves on and they want to capture the latest audience. We're not like content creators. We're just ordinary people that at some point needs to say, listen, I engaged in an activity, either A, I cut off, so for instance like with Genshin, either I stop playing Genshin and I now start something new, or I keep playing Genshin, I might dabble, see what the new thing's about, but just to be up to speed, but eventually just drop it and move on. And I think that's the way things are going to go, because with the COVID era being over and a lot of companies pushing out new titles that have obviously been developed during the COVID era, the world's going to be your oyster. You can choose whatever you want, and I think the competition itself is extremely good, because it means that for those of us that are going to stick with Genshin, hopefully they'll realize that they need to start pumping up the quality. I don't know if you guys have seen the Natlan trailer, but it's good, but it's not wow. It's not wow in the same sense that Sumeru was like wow with the mystery of Fontaine, where you kind of second guessed everything. And I'm not talking about skin color. I mean, I've made a video about that, and you guys know exactly where I stand on that issue. It's not that at all with Natlan. It's just the general lack of wow factor that hits you, and this is the problem. This is the main game I'm playing, and it's not wowing me enough where it should be doing so, and that is the problem. And I think a big reason is that when I look at new characters, fundamentally I know that the fun that is being presented to me is going to be gatekept by a 50-50. And this is the problem with Honkai Star Rail, with Zenless Zone Zero, with Wuthering Waves, is that the fun that is being presented to me, the part where I don't have to grind for in-game artifacts and all this nonsense, just get the character, just do some stupid things in the game. I can't do that, because if I want to do it, I either have to pay up, so that's $100 Honkai Star Rail, $100 Wuthering Waves, oh no, that's $200 Wuthering Waves, because I lost the 50-50, and that's $300, and then it's just like, nobody can keep up financially. Well, you can, it's not that difficult, but even if you do so, it feels hollow. It just feels like I had to pay for a diminishing subpar experience. Come on, it's not the way for me. So where I'm standing at the moment is that whilst a lot of people have moved on from Gen-shin Impact and they've gotten new waifus and husbandos, I just don't seem to be, I just can't do it mentally. I look every day, for instance, at Kokomi, and it's a character that makes me happy. When I play Gen-shin Impact, I know it sounds silly, I feel really happy when I can play with Kokomi, even though I've been looking at the character for 4 years. So when I look at Kokomi, when I look at Nihida, when I look at Yelan, when I look at Yaemiko, these are my favorite characters, and more recently I've taken also a liking to Sidrun. And that just means that I want to almost spend my time with the things that makes me the happiest during my period for relaxation during the day. And that is the point that I want to make. I don't want to burn out on a new game that's going to have new FOMOs and that you have to keep up. I think one of the things that I said last year was that I don't find that there is a strong appeal for something like Honkai Star Rail. A big part of it is the turn-based game, but also the fact that you now have to do another gacha game and so on. And I'll say this openly, I've regretted to play Honkai Star Rail. In every aspect, it does things better than Genshin did. And that's also not good enough. It's not wow enough, because I know it's the same company. So in a certain sense, I expect them to do better for the game that I actually put in my time and effort in. So there's a bit of a weird psychological mechanic there. But at the end of the day, I'm at a point where I look at Honkai Star Rail, I see that everyone got excited for all the characters, and apart from Akron and Bailu, nothing in that game interests me. It's almost a chore to play it. And in a sense, it's the developers' fault, because they went on a whole character creep route. So they've released very few 4 stars, and they just piled on 5 stars, new metas, new game modes. At some point, it's just like, guys, just slow down a bit. And it's also the same with Honkai Impact 3rd, a game that I've been playing for 3 years. I kind of semi-quit that game because they had the bright idea to invalidate all your old characters for the Honkai Impact 3rd Part 2. So basically, you can't use any of your old characters in the open world, but obviously all the new characters can be used, and you can use the new characters where you could use all of the old characters. So this would be like saying, hey, we're going to bring out Gen-shin Impact 2, and there is this new region, but none of the characters that you've got in your account can be used except the new characters that we're going to allow you to gacha on from now on. That would be kind of the same feeling, and it sucks. It's really like, I'm sorry, like, you've got to treat each one of the characters, which is the product, with respect, and if you don't do so, players are going to kind of quit. And my next step after I eventually quit Gen-shin Impact is just going to be to quit gaming in general and do some other more productive things, like doing solving some math equations, reading on some risk reports, because I'm a certified financial risk manager, and they're just more interesting and engaging things for me in life. I find that there are things that make me feel more satisfied. It's almost like the gacha games are junk food, and it's just like you don't get a full level of satisfaction. But if you've read something interesting, or you've kind of like, how can I put it, you've solved an interesting problem, you just get a level of satisfaction in knowing that you've solved something, or you've gained some new knowledge which can shed some new perspectives on the world and how you understand it, and it's just so much more meaningful. So yeah, I think that's enough rambling from my side. At a very human level, which is really what this video is trying to get to, is that we all have limited time, and we need to decide how we want to respect our own limited time. And I think playing too many gacha games is the wrong way to do it. And also going after new characters like cheap candy or like cheap fast food is also a problem. Right, that's what I have to say. all the life lessons over. Thank you so much for watching. I'm dead tired. It's been a long day. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your week, and good night.